OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We've got Role Play Level of Concern coming up at 5:30. Jason Strudwick will join us, set the scene out in Edmonton. Haven't caught up with Struddy in a while. We look forward to that.
Wonder if he's outraged as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see the Oilers' statement, they're getting carved for that, man.
Dude, who comes out with a statement? What is this, grade 5 volleyball? What are we doing here, man?
It is surprising.
Like, what does the statement basically say? We're not happy with this? Like, okay, what is that going to do?
Yeah, I don't think it achieves anything. And if you're not going to challenge, the suspension, which would have been within the right of McDavid and the CBA, if you're not going to try to push back on it, then what is the point? I don't really know what. Listen, everything about McDavid, I understand. You have to be 100% supportive. That's your guy. Everything revolves around him. I understand that. But it accomplished absolutely nothing. Like, there's no way Gary Bettman and George Peros are like, the statement came out. We're in big trouble now. Maybe Struddy had something to do with that statement. We'll ask him. You're from Edmonton, Noodles. You can speak to it. I don't know. Is everyone back home okay? Is everyone going to survive?
People are pissed, but it was a nothing burger, the statement. I thought it was useless. It was useless. Yeah. It was a nothing burger. Like, that's the way I looked at it. It accomplished nothing. That's the way I see it.
Nothing.
It's like when your parents say, "Oh, you're grounded," and then you're like, "I'm really pissed that I'm grounded," and they're like, "Okay, great, you're still grounded." It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no difference. Any revolt, any pushback, but Game 1. Down last night, Washington ends up beating the Oilers, and again, you got the Leafs and the Blue Jackets tonight. In Columbus, a very compelling team. We had Dean Evison on yesterday, and he's a great guy to chat with. Like, grizzled.
I'm going to give him a hall pass. He called me Paul O'Neill.
Okay, so
one mishap, people are like, they say, it happens to me all the time. People are like, "I know who you are." I'm like, "Who?" And they're like, "Paul O'Neill." I'm like, "No, I'm not Paul O'Neill. Paul O'Neill used to play for the Yankees, and the other Paul O'Neill is my dad."
That's right. Now, here's my take on that. You tell me where you stand.
No, because you're going to come up with something outrageous and stupid.
No, I actually don't think he was addressing you as Paul. We were talking about the Hartford Whalers. I think he was talking about Paul Holmgren and stopped his train of thought. That's how I read it.
No, because he was like, "And Paul, you played for the organization too." And
okay. Well, in that case, he called you Paul.
Yeah,
You're Paul now.
But I like him a lot, and through the, being friends with a lot of Whalers, he's very well respected.
There you go. He's doing a great job this year, man. He's coaching up a storm with those Blue Jackets, and it does seem like, we mentioned it yesterday, FanDuel had the odds for the Jack Adams, and Dean Evison is 2 on that list. Spencer Carberry is number 1 in terms of the favorite, and I have to believe if Washington wins the President's Trophy this year, Spencer's probably going to get it. Yet Scott Arniel's, on the other side, right, in Winnipeg, and it's his first year on the job, and he's done a remarkable job. And if they end up winning the President's Trophy, I would think Scott Arniel should be in that hunt. But, you got, Everson, who's chasing down a Jack Adams, and you've got Zach Werenski, who's certainly in the Norris hunt right now. And Quinn Hughes might be a bit ahead of him, maybe Cale Makar, but I think you can make a strong case. Zach Werenski has been the most impactful defenseman this year, close to it.
Yeah. If they get in, man, and who said, you or Jonah said, if he gets in and he's got 25 cookies, like, that's your Norris winner.
Yeah, it probably should be. Based on narrative and the fact that you didn't expect it to happen.
Why not just recognizing how great the guy is instead of just deferring to how great, like, those other guys, and I don't like that either, but it's finding a balance. Like, if Zach Werenski has 25 goals and he plays all those minutes, and it's just a great story, but don't ignore it. But I also don't like ignoring greatness from the other two, because there was a bunch of years where the major trophies, it was like automatic nomination. It's like, think outside the box just a little bit.
Right.
Yep. I mean, if they get in, he's got to be Norris, and I think you also have to think about Evison as Coach of the Year. This team was not scheduled to make the playoffs whatsoever, and the tragedy that went on, crazy. I mean, it's so sad.
Yeah, he addressed that yesterday about how difficult it was with Johnny Gaudreau obviously passing away, with just even the whole, Babcock stuff last year, which has been completely forgotten, but that turned the organization upside down.
Right.
Week before training camp, Mike Babcock gets fired or steps away.
And that was one of the craziest things.
One of the craziest stories. And they've had injury issues this year, and the expectations just were not that high. And Columbus they've already exceeded them, and they're in the race. And it's setting up, pretty interestingly, that it could be Ottawa, Montreal, Columbus, like any two of those three teams getting in at the expense likely of Boston and the Rangers, I would think, and maybe Pittsburgh if you included them as a veteran team that could be in the hunt. And I think that would be a good thing for the league. Turn it over every once in a while. Get some different teams in there. Get some new blood in there. And that's kind of where things stand currently in the East. All right, joining us now on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Here's our main man, our good buddy. I'm sure he's very emotional right now. Jason Strudwick joining us. Everyone okay out there, Struddy? How's everyone holding up with Connor McDavid suspended for 2 more games?
Oh, yeah. No, we accept the punishment, right? I think it was maybe a little heavy-handed, but, you just got to take it and move on. You cross-check someone. Now, we can debate what happened before that. I mean, the way that Garland attacked Connor McDavid is the way I remember Noodles attacking a hot dog guy when there was one hot dog left at 2 a.m. So similar. but I mean, the crime itself, I mean, it was at least 2 games. At 3 I thought was a little heavy, but I don't know. It's one more day off for a guy who's played a lot of hockey.
What do you think about the statement, Struddy? Like, why did the Oilers feel the need to come out with a statement?
Yeah, it reminded me of the statement that Jimmy Butler put out when he came back from the Miami Heat through his agent. Just said, "I'm back." Right? Like I don't think it really served the purpose. Right? I don't really know what you're doing. And there was a lot of people in this market that wanted the GM Stan Bowman to come out and unleash on the league, but you can only pull that so often. Maybe you hold that back for the playoffs or later in the season. I don't know. Maybe there's frustration from the owner, or I don't think it really says it didn't really do anything to me. It doesn't change anything of what happened.
Well, what it sets up for now is a 4th-line guy gets suspended, and he's sitting there saying, when is my statement going to be issued?
Yeah. Why do you not care as much?
Yeah. Now you got to issue a statement for the 13th forward who swings his stick in an exhibition game. And it's like, oh, man, we started with the statements, and I guess if we did it for McDavid.
When deep down they really hope that bastard gets 10 games so
right.
they don't have to deal with him.
This would be great. We don't have to pay him. None of that. Just get him out of here for 10 more games. But what was the read on the nachos being thrown on the ice last night? Was that you? Was that someone you're aware of? Is that a protest?
Yeah.
Why are nachos being thrown on the ice in Edmonton?
Well, I'll say I'm too cheap. That's like a $20 bag of nachos. I'm not throwing that out there, right? If I brought my own in, it'd be a little less. But, yeah, you know what? I've seen a lot of things thrown on the ice. Jerseys, squid or octopus, whatever, all different things, beers, quarters. But I've never seen a full plate of nachos hit the ground. And then guys keep playing. And Perry's shot, that was an absolute bomb. Turned it back 15 years on his shot. But you know what? I don't really know. Like, who's the guy that says, I'm going to throw it out there? How drunk do you have to be to think you're going to throw it? And I bet you they weren't even his. It was probably his buddies. Like, hold this for a second. Then he got mad and just tossed it onto the ice. It makes no sense at all.
No, it is such a stupid decision to be. Like, throwing anything on the ice is clearly dumb. But a full plate of nachos, and to your point, those are expensive, man. Like, those are not cheap. And what do you think you're accomplishing with that play? It is kind of amazing that Perry scored there. Like you were talking about earlier, Noodles, like the fact that Thompson was like, hey, there's something clearly on the ice, and he rips one top shelf. But anyway, go ahead, Noodles.
Struddy, do you think Draisaitl is the Hart winner right now?
Yeah, you know what? He's been so good. He just, you look at everything, and people don't love it, but plus minus, he's right up there. He's scoring a ton. He's playing with different line mates, all the time. He's rotating through and helping those guys do well. I think he is, and it's just like he decided, I'm going to be an absolute beast this year, and I'm going to do everything I can to help the team win a Stanley Cup. I'm not suggesting he hasn't done that before, but just the way that he's playing, and he's very businesslike, and just, I'm here to help the team win. I'm just, that's all I'm trying to do. And he's been everywhere. I mean, he's scoring, he's winning face-offs. The only thing he doesn't do is kill penalties, and that's because they can't play him 30 minutes a night. So they have to pull it back a bit. But he's playing unreal well. And I look at some of the other guys, Kiprusoff, unfortunately, or Kaprizov, sorry, his minutes have come down, obviously, because he's been hurt. But I don't know how he's not the clear favorite right now for the Hart Trophy, guys.
I agree. I think he should be. I think as of now, it should be basically his award to lose. Now, McKinnon's been very, very good this year, clearly. Hellebuck has been great. We've talked about some defensemen recently, like if Vancouver gets it on the rails and gets in, and Quinn Hughes is playing the way he's playing, could he get in that conversation? I don't think Zach Werenski will quite get to that level, but Werenski's been outstanding for Columbus. But, I mean, we discussed McDavid and his role in this, and I guess I would ask you to clarify that, Struddy. Like, if you see Draisaitl as the clear-cut guy, how does that apply to McDavid's pursuit of it? Like, what would McDavid have to do once he returns from the suspension to make you think, oh, actually, I've changed my mind here. McDavid has been more valuable over the course of the season than Draisaitl?
Yeah, well, I'll start by saying this. I don't think that those guys are really interested in the personal awards. They've done it all, right? So I think that they just want the best version of each of them and then the whole team, so they can hopefully get what they really want, which is Stanley Cup. But for Connor, I mean, he's so dynamic, and his ability to score and his ability to cover so much ice. I mean, I think he'd have to go on a real scoring tear, and he's up there for scoring. So, but I just don't think that's their focus this year. I truly don't think that they're worried about that. I think that they're thinking, what's the best way I can contribute to this team to help them make the best version of who we are? And when I say we, the entire team that they're on. So, yeah, I think if Leon wins it, Connor will be happy. If Connor were able to, go nuclear like we've seen him do so many times, and he wins it, I don't think they'd really care, unless sitting beside that trophy is the Stanley Cup.
Strud, you're a little closer to the Vancouver situation out there. What do you make of what's going on? Like, it's kind of bizarre how good they were last year. They came close to taking down Edmonton, and now they are where they are. Like, what do you make of that scene in Van?
Well, when I played on teams, you always wanted to keep your best players. And there were some you don't want to get rid of them. I wasn't thinking, let's get rid of Jaromir Jagr because I don't like that he hasn't passed.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what would happen back in your time playing when two players were beefing? Would it just be like suck it up and play on the same team, and that's that, or what?
Well, I think that you try to find a mediator, right? So, and I don't think the coach is necessarily the guy. So, who is the mediator there in Vancouver to talk between these two gentlemen? Is it the captain, Quinn Hughes? I don't know that he's maybe that guy. Who's the veteran? Who's the veteran? Is it Myers? Is it Carson Soucy is going to mediate between these two guys? I don't know that there's anyone there that's like a Joe McGinley who's been around for years, and he's the one who's going to mediate this disagreement between these two guys, because when they're both playing well, they're a very good team. But when they're not, and then if one leaves, you hear some of their terms potentially or maybe coming back. Like, those are some pretty good players. But JT Miller, to me, is the heartbeat of that team. When I watched him in the playoffs, specifically last year, the way that he played, he was everywhere. And, the team, the fans chant his name. Like, and Pettersson, I don't see him in that way. He's a very skilled player, and he can do a lot of things, but he's not the heartbeat guy. So I would like to think that, they can, Pettersson or whoever can say, okay, we got to figure this out so we can move forward. But the longer it drags out and you hear the rumors, you're like, maybe it's not going to work out. And then, do you unload them in mid-season? Do you get the most value if you do? And what does the team look after? So everyone's looking around like, okay, great. Well, he's not here anymore, but we could sure use a guy like that. It's kind of rough, and not to poke fun, but like, Nazem Kadri when he was in Toronto. There's, suspensions. We know some things that happen, but he's a pretty important part of the Colorado Cup teams. But what have we done for Toronto if he would have been there with the Leafs? And again, I'm not trying to rip off old wounds here, but that's kind of how it feels with JT Miller.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the guy you're describing, that veteran presence that could mediate, is JT Miller. but he's the one involved in all this.
Yeah,
you know, like that's kind of the concern is he can't look in the mirror and do this. You need someone else. And, you know, we were talking about it last hour, Struddy. They're up 2-1 in the second period against Buffalo at home, and they lose last night. And now, you know, the way the West is setting up, it's very different than the East, where in the East there's a lot of positioning up for grabs. Both wild card spots are up for grabs. The third spot in the Atlantic up for grabs. It feels as if, you know, in the West there's a lot more separation, and there's kind of a race for one spot. You know, it feels like only the second wild card spot. And if you're Calgary, you're having ups and downs, and your expectations weren't that high, yet no one else is really taken off. Like Vancouver hasn't done it, St. Louis hasn't done it. I don't think Utah's really in the hunt. Like maybe it's a scenario where Calgary, and I think they probably should be feeling this way, if they can just plug along and keep their head above water, they might backdoor into the playoffs.
Well, think about the perspective from both teams. So for the Calgary Flames, everyone expects them to be near the bottom, and here they are fighting for a playoff spot. So they're excited about the situation they're in. Whereas the Canucks, I'm guessing they felt they could contend for the top spot in the Pacific Division. And now, you know, they beat the Oilers the other day, and they lost last night to the Sabres. They play the Oilers again Saturday, so, you know, a pretty important game. But let's say they lose that game, and there's a little more space. Well, and then you got this whole, you know, personality issue going on in that dressing room, apparently. You know, where do you go from there? Because it feels like you're losing. So, you know, both teams are kind of close to each other in points, but a way different feeling in that dressing room. And I would rather be in the Flames dressing room, excited that we're in this spot and you can't wait to get to the rink, whereas we're with the Canucks and you're like, God, we're not playing very well. We're not happy with each other. We want to trade somebody. And it feels like you're just constantly, you know, under the gun and not performing the way you or anyone else expects you to perform.
Yeah, and this is an example of the Canadian markets being different than Southern markets. We talked about it earlier this week. Braden Point last week out of nowhere was basically suspended for a game. And I'm sure in Tampa it wasn't like breaking news, everyone buzzing about it. Yet if you're in Vancouver and you're having a slide like this and it's such a tumultuous, like dramatic season, you can't escape it. That market is going crazy.
Dude, like, can you imagine if a top player in Canada like was a healthy scratch because of him? That would be like CTV, like headline news.
Breaking news, and then it would follow that player around. Like, what's up with this guy? Is he committed? Is he? You know, there's be all these different layers to it, and that's the thing about what Vancouver's dealing with right now is they can't escape their own market because everyone is just on them constantly. And I don't blame the market. This isn't me suggesting I would feel any differently if I lived there or worked there, or if this was the Leafs and it was happening in Toronto. Of course it's going to be a constant story, yet there's no escaping it, Strud. Like, you've played there. It's a rabid fan base and a crazy media.
Yeah, I mean, with all the good sometimes comes some challenges, right? And that's the great thing about playing the Canadian market is that when you're rolling, everyone loves you. And when it's not, there's a lot of criticism because everyone is interested in what you're doing. So, you know, for that group, they have to find a way to move forward, and whatever that looks like, because they're a better team than they're showing. They've got a lot of talent in there, right? But they're not getting it done. And you look at their media avails. They try to downplay what's going on, but those media avails are so awkward. You know, like a couple of weeks ago was JT Miller and Pettersson. JT's like, I can bring Pettersson out here and we'll tell you everything's okay, but his body language and his face tells me different.
Right.
So it's really, really awkward. And I don't know how it's going to end, but I cannot see you getting full value for JT Miller Pettersson, you know, in whatever, the trade deadline, whatever you want to call it. I can't see it happening. But are they that desperate to move someone out to change the dynamic that they're willing to do that and, you know, quote unquote, lose a trade?
I think that Pettersson's getting a bit of a hall pass with all this JT Miller talk. Like, he scored the other night, but he's not a dominant player. Not as of right now, anyway.
Not even close.
No, he used to be like must-watch TV. Pettersson in the end, like he was. I thought he was going to have battles with McDavid year after year, and like he was at that level. He's not close to that, and I don't know what the hell's up with him.
Well, you know, you go back to even when was he really himself? Prior to last Christmas? Was that kind of the last time?
Yeah,
I'd say that was probably the last.
That's
time.
A long time ago, Strud.
That is so. You know, well, after the playoff series, it was the knee. You know, the knee was the issue. Now I'm ready to go this year. Now he's not really saying, but he's not. He plays well when Miller's on the lineup or gets more points. Like, at some point, you've just got to go and play. And you don't always love your coach, you don't always love your teammates, but as a professional and as a member of that team, you have to bring your best every night. So his play has been wobbly for over a year now. And so is that a drop-off? Is that, so you talked about the pressure of the contract, getting a deal done. Like, you're going to be a millionaire 20 times over. Like, I guess you just want to get it done. But if I'm a teammate, I'm like, bud, we need more out of you. I don't care if you and JT can't sit together and share some Jell-O on the plane.
Struddy, are you making a comeback to play with John Klingberg?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I don't want to break the news here, but they asked me first. I said, sorry, guys.
They asked me first.
I'm pretty busy, and I think this guy deserves opportunity. He's a little bit younger. Sometimes I put on Instagram some of my moves that I still have against the 10-year-olds, and it's impressive, guys. It is really impressive. But they chose not chose, but I pushed it over to Klingberg. Like, give this guy a chance. He's had a big fight to get back.
Okay, I like that. D to D pass. Look at you, always the supporter, always out there to support the offensive guys and pushing Klingberg into the right direction. And do we know what his status is going to be with Edmonton? Do they? Obviously, this is more of a long-term play, I would assume, like depth for the playoffs. But how much would you expect he's going to play, and how much opportunity is there for Klingberg to maybe move into a top 4 position with the Oilers?
This is a huge reward with little risk for the Edmonton Oilers. If this guy can come in and find his game, because he's healthy. He says he's healthy. He hasn't felt when he was with the Leafs, he felt he couldn't move as well. And now he feels like he's moving really well. And if he can come in and play beside Darnell Nurse, it would be massive. And the happiest guy in the Oilers, if that happens, is Leon Draisaitl. Because Connor McDavid gets passes from Evan Bouchard and Ekholm, and no disrespect to the other D-men on that team, but Klingberg can deliver the pass at the time and at the right place that super skilled players like. And you understand that, O-Dog. There's no doubt I can make a tape-to-tape pass with the best of them, but giving it to him when the
it's at a 12% clip, though.
But still, I was a career 10% passer, but you know what I mean? So you can get it to the guy at the right time. That is what Klingberg does really, really well. So to answer your question, I think he's going to play, and he's going to play a ton. I think they're going to put him in there. Maybe the first couple of games kind of start him slowly, but then get him in there and say, what can he do? What can he do? He's been skating for over a month. He's got his skating legs back, not game legs. But if they can solve that or fix that problem with this guy, that it would be massive, absolutely massive. Now, I don't know what the percentage is, but you got to take a shot at it.
Yeah, and again, you didn't have to give up any assets. We were talking about Jonathan Toews last hour. It's not that different. I mean, Toews played at the end of 2023. Klingberg barely played last year. He patched some stuff together, and what did he play, 15 games, and it wasn't very good, and he was underwater really early, had a significant surgery. Now he's trying to jump on a moving train. It's asking a lot of a veteran, but you're getting him for free. You just got to pay him. There's no assets going out the door. So, and he's got a good team. Edmonton's in a good place. Vegas has kind of hit a wall here, Strud. I'm sure I could tell you in Toronto, the eyes are on the top seed in the Atlantic. I don't see why that wouldn't be the case in Edmonton. Why can't they win that division? They're a point back as it currently stands.
It's something. I mean, the Kings are good. Don't sleep on the Kings like that.
Yeah, they are.
They're big. They're. Oh, by the way, they're getting a Hall of Fame defenseman back, right? Doughty. So that would make, because they've got some younger D-men on that group that you bolster with a 25-minuter like Drew Doughty. That's a pretty nice thing to bolster with. So I think that maybe out east they get lost a little bit, but I've watched them quite a few times. They are good, and that Quinton Byfield keeps figuring it out. I think he's going to be a really good player. But Vegas, Vegas is Vegas. What scares me about a playoff series against Vegas is the skill, skating ability, and size of their D-men. They are humongous, absolutely humongous. Even Washington, look at that.
Their whole team in Vegas is humongous, Strud.
They're big.
Yeah.
They're big, but trying to get to the net, and trying to get through those big guys that can move and pass the puck to get to the net, that's tough. That's a really tough. So it's, the Pacific is pretty, those top three are all pretty good teams.
Absolutely. All right, Struddy, we'll leave it there. Good stuff, pal. Good catching up with you as always. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. Happy New Year, boys. I love the late New Year's greetings, so Happy New Year.
Right back at you. There's Jason Strudwick. former Oiler and NHLer and part of the Got Yer Back podcast. Legacy out there. Legacy. Joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Count on Maple Toyota for the right winter tire package for your Toyota. Trade in your old tires, buy a new set, and get $40 back. Visit mapletoyota.com. Yeah, Drew Doughty's he's gonna hit the road here with LA. Like, it sounds like he's right around the corner, Noodles. Like, he's gonna play, and have to ease him in a little, but that's a big get.
That's a big bolster. We're gonna have to revisit the TV pictures because, like Struddy's picture, that's 20 years ago too.
Right.
Like I don't know what
it's not deserved. Like things need to be shown and updated.
Yes, like I don't know. I saw that picture come up. I'm like, that's him when he still played. That's not him
right.
in the
That's
media.
like mid-career.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that can't happen. These guys, we give these guys, too much, rope to play with when it comes to, what pictures they want. I noticed Luke has updated his recently.
Yeah,
Luke Wilson.
If it's your pick and you see it up there and it's not right, you get a little bit offended.
I think we're still using an old one for you.
I was just going to say, you probably need to update your picture how many pounds ago type of thing.
But
like you,
I think so.
Are you saying mine is not appropriate?
No, I'm saying I don't think you would be happy with yours. Like, occasionally they'll flash it up on the screen, like the kind of
look like
stock photo, and it looks like 80, 70 pounds ago. Like it's
the one where I have a suit on.
I think so, dude. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know if Joe from the Bridge can flash it up, and maybe we can take a look at it up on TSN4. But I think it's that's not bad. That's not bad. That's relatively new.
I knew you were just making that up.
No,
that pic
man,
is
I'm telling you,
bad.
I'm thinking of the last one. Then there was a photo like 6 months ago that was you had the same profile, but there was way more beef. Like way more.
You're thinking of the quiz when they showed me beside meth in Ottawa last year.
That was a bad one. Yes,
dude. That looked like I ate another guy before I went on the set.
Yeah. That was a bad one. And occasionally they'll show up in, like, my memories, something will show up on my phone or someone will send me an old Instagram post or something.
Dude, you know what always shows up for me is the wing eating contest.
Oh, it's disgusting, dude. Disgusting.
Here's my pizza. Like, and I don't know, you told me you loved pizza back in the day.
Okay. Yeah, I did. I still am a fan.
Did.
It's not like I've got
and I just don't understand this move. I had lunch, and I eat boring lunches because since I started training, it's salad, chicken, blah, blah. This guy was asking for different types of hot oil and different oil. This guy was dumping oils on a za.
Yeah.
Flakes and like a cheese, and I'm just like, eat the pizza.
I know that move. I'm familiar with that activity.
Do you condone that move?
I don't necessarily. I think it's a bit extreme. Like,
you know how much oil is on a za to begin with?
It's already really oily. If you add a bunch of oil, you start putting the flakes in. Like, some people will put hot sauce
found it
on,
offensive.
Like, it's sauce. It's not pizza at that point.
It's not. It's
not. Like, what are you ordering? Like, it just. I get it if it's
especially a multiple oil request. Like
that's
a normal
outrageous.
One and a spicy one. He said.
Yeah.
I just said this guy's crazy.
Yeah,
man.
that's too much, man. Like the whole pizza lifestyle, it's a different world, man. It's a different. It's a secret society. People are doing some weird stuff with pizza.
They are. I just like a thin crust back in the day, and watch out.
It's great. Yeah. Can't beat it. I still love pizza. Like I don't have any spots that I frequent, and that's because you do get snobby pizza guy, right? Like that guy.
Before that panel in Ottawa, during that time frame, I could easily order a large thin crust and destroy the whole thing for fun.
Right.
For fun.
Hayes, you said, though, in college you would order multiple orders of pizza because you didn't want to leave your dorm room or leave your, like it would be for lunch.
Oh,
yeah.
Way,
that was resourceful, though. That was more about being resourceful than it was being a slob.
So you were like, bad weather, I'm going to order 2 Zaws because tomorrow I'm not leaving the house and I want it available. That's disgusting, dude.
It is a disgusting behavior. I'll admit that. Disgusting behavior. But some of it was a look ahead. Going out tonight, I know I'm getting after it. I need something waiting for me when I get home because I'm going to be starving, or the next day, you're going to be hungover. Like that kind of thought process, that is a look ahead. I'm not saying it was healthy. I'm not saying it was appropriate or anyone would be impressed by it. If anything, they'd be absolutely disgusted by that type of activity.
I've only once or twice put a 12-pack on ice in the room because you know it's a big win on the road and a bonkers night, and there could be a nightcap situation.
Those are always important. I haven't been in a position to have a nightcap in a long time. It's just not in my wheelhouse. I don't live that type of lifestyle anymore. But that was always something, man. You get out of the bar, and it was like, where are we going? And someone's got beers ready, and you're like, oh, I could do that. It's only 2:30 in the morning. I got all the time in the world, man. Where are we going? What are we doing? Those days are well behind me now. But, yeah, I'm with you, man, in terms of the craziness of, like, oils and stuff. I don't
Stop
get
it.
Just
I don't
eat
know.
pizza, man. But
I'd just say there's not. If I
guy.
worked at the place, I'd say there's no oils available.
Yeah. Because if you go to like a chain or something, I don't even know what they have available. I'm sure they do.
The answer is
nothing.
nothing.
Any of these like crazy pizza spots in Toronto, and there's a lot of great ones. It's like a lifestyle thing. Like I only get my pizza from this place. And
dude, you know the story. There's a place called Tironi. They don't give you anything to cut it with. You're not cutting the pizza, dude.
And you can't ask for anything. At
no,
Tironi
they're going to
no
say you're not getting
They'll
it.
Kick you
They'll
out, man.
They will, and they'll tell you to rip it apart with your hands, and that's how we serve it.
Right.
I couldn't believe it.
No utensils for a massive wheel. Crazy.
There's slightly arrogance attached to that, though. I get it. I get it. They're a good place. I love the place.
Brilliant.
I didn't love being told that you couldn't substitute anything. I'm like, all right, like.
Oh, you would hate, dude. That's your nightmare because you're the pickiest eater of all time. Like,
and they're going to be blunt with you. You're not doing that here.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's flat
flat
out what it was. You can't do that here. Either order or get the hell out. That's basically what they said.
Which I actually appreciate that because they stick to the policy. Like, literally, you can leave. We don't want your business. We're not doing that. We're not
I
taking
asked for
anything
balsamic vinegar for my salad.
No,
and they go,
get out.
No. They go, we don't serve it like that. I go, but yeah, but it's my salad. It's my salad.
Not. It's our salad.
No, it's mine.
It's
that was my
salad.
problem. I'm like, I'd like to put this on my salad. Mm-hmm. No way, dude.
Not happening. All right, we got Pierre coming up. Role play level of concern still to come as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
You can never ask me to stop drinking. Do you understand?
I do. I really do.
All right, role play level of concern. We haven't done this in a while. It's always a favorite. Everyone loves to see which person we're going to be playing and what the scenario could be. So we all know the options, right? Pine on the patio. There's a lot of things in between. And then the most extreme level of concern, of course, is still Nick Cage.
Have we decided what Stevie Caldwell's level of concern is? It's 5 beers and a couple of whiskeys. But what does that mean? Is that just kind of like shake it off?
I think that's closer to Pine on the patio, if you can believe it. Right? I think it's just a step above that. It's just an easy night out. Because that's how he was describing it, right? Like, that's nothing. That's just
5 or 6 beers and a couple of whiskeys.
Right.
It's below a 6-pack. Just below a 6-pack.
Right.
You know? Right
for him, and you go to Glasgow or whatever, that's nothing. That's a Tuesday afternoon, right? That's a lunch meeting.
Yeah.
All right, you're playing the role of Mark Shapiro. What is your level of concern that if Ross Atkins goes down, you're going down with him?
Oh, dude, give me Vegas, like Nick Cage, Stevie Caldwell, all of them. Play something.
You can never ask me to stop drinking.
A couple of whiskeys and 5 or 6 beers.
Yes. Thank you for the combo pack. That is nuclear. Yeah. Don't you think they're a package deal? I mean, I don't know if Mark Shapiro is embedded enough where he could separate himself and say, that guy's ideas were pretty crazy. We got to gas him, especially at this point, because he's been right along for the ride. That I don't know, but I would say that this is a package deal. And I know that Mark has done all the renovations, and I don't know. There is that separation from president to GM, but you would think for the PR alone, it would be like, guys, it didn't work. Sorry. Your unit of Shapiro Atkins did not work. So See you later.
Is accurate in terms of the way the public perceives them. There's no separation.
Well, what, do you have inside information that he's...
I mean, I would use a guy like Brendan Shanahan as an example, where he's gone through multiple GMs, and, the president has a political vibe to him, right? And a different relationship with ownership. And I would not be surprised if Shapiro told ownership, all I've had is Atkins. It's the only guy I've worked with. Give me another GM. Let me have a chance to work with someone else. And I don't think it's Nick Cage. For me, I do think it might be, a Stevie Caldwell or something in the middle. It's not a pint on the patio, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, but
there is a separation between the two.
Isn't there a PR element, and you just don't fire people for PR elements or for an optic?
Yeah.
But wouldn't you think to kind of settle things down, you would just do everyone a favor in the organization, especially the fan base, and say, we got to move on?
I would think that's reasonable, but reason doesn't always factor in with decisions
then it turns into stupidity. Sorry.
I think you have a clean sweep if you do anything. And the other thing you mentioned is Brendan Shanahan. Regardless of the lack of success in the playoffs, they've had a ton of success in the regular season. Have the Jays?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Well, I mean, they would argue they made the playoffs a few times, and
one game, dude.
I hear you. Listen, I understand that, but I'm just saying there is generally a separation between the two, and Shapiro, Shanahan, Masai, they all do a good job of being like, no, the GM does that stuff. I'm not, like publicly they try to let everyone know I'm not involved. It's completely bogus. They're all totally involved. Nothing happens within their organizations unless they sign off on it. But anyway, Noodles, you're playing the role of Team Canada. Team Canada, what is your level of concern? Logan Thompson not being on the Four Nations face-off is going to blow up in your face.
Stevie Caldwell.
A couple of whiskeys and 5 or 6 beers.
You just need one guy, and if Binnington doesn't do it, then you move to the next guy. Then you move to the next guy. But you know what? Like, if Logan continues his tear, and his team's at the top of the league, and he's not on it, it's certainly concerning because we'll do revisionist history just like we did at the World Juniors.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what's going to happen. You just know it, right? If whoever's in that, Binnington or whatever, plays poorly and they lose, it'll be, look at Logan Thompson. Canada does it again. Why don't you bring the best players?
Hayes, it's going to happen with everybody. Mark Scheifele, like if Seth Jarvis or
Nick Suzuki's
Hagel don't work out, they're going to be like, why? There's especially in a market like Canada, especially after the World Juniors, if they don't win. And I don't know what the caring level of this event's going to be, but if they don't win, there'll be vultures circling. That's for sure.
Absolutely, there always are going to be when it comes to hockey, and especially considering we've been starving for best on best for a long time.
Hayes, there might be vultures even if they do win. They'll still say, "Well, that guy wasn't that good. They should have brought this guy."
Yeah, you're right. That's true. I mean, if a guy plays poorly, it would have been even better success if Scheifele was on the team, who's been great all year. And again, Suzuki's been really good since they announced the team, and others. All right, I'm playing the role of Lions head coach Dan Campbell, who lost both his coordinators who became official today. Aaron Glenn taking the job in New York with the Jets, and Ben Johnson, of course, with Chicago. What is my level of concern? Losing both of my coordinators will lead to a down season next year. I'm going to say Rick Bushwood on this.
6 Busch Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a 6-pack on both sides, and I love it because, listen, this is all he's known. He's worked with these two guys. He has propped up their ability to run offense and defense, and Dan Campbell's a raw, like, run through a brick wall for me type of coach. I think he needs help with the coordinators. It doesn't mean he can't replace them. He very well could. He may bring in the next 2 guys, and they're still going to have a very good lineup, and you presume health next year, and they'll be expected to win a lot. But this is a big change for Dan Campbell. Like, you miss both of your coordinators are leaving. You're not firing them because it didn't work. They're leaving because they have opportunities elsewhere. This would concern me greatly if I was Dan Campbell. And he's still a confident guy. Again, they're going to have a really good roster, and I would think they'll be a playoff team next year. But I think this hurts more than people understand because these 2 guys were really good at their jobs. They worked really well with Dan Campbell, and they're both out. And that's shocking, man. You lose the only playoff game you play in, and both your coordinators leave. That's a big hit in Detroit, man.
It's tough.
Tough.
Big time.
I mean, it's a testament to the program they've built. When was the last
use
time?
it as motivation, Hayes. Like,
Yeah.
you lost your offensive coordinator. If you get the main pieces back, you just say, let's just run it back, fellas. Like, just stop making excuses. Oh, we lost this guy, we lost that guy. You're still going to have the main players in place, are you not?
They are.
And getting guys back that didn't play in that game because of injury.
That's big. Yep. Defensively, it's big. And again, it's a compliment to your program. When was the last time multiple coordinators for the Lions had head coaching opportunities?
Dude, never.
Never in my lifetime have there been people saying, I got to get that guy from Detroit. And that speaks to what Dan Campbell's accomplished there and what he's done. And Campbell's still there. He's the face of it, the heartbeat of it. They still have really good players. But I do think it's an adjustment. I would be concerned in January about what could happen moving forward there. All right, we'll come back with a couple more role plays. Oh, you're going to play the role of Scottie Scheffler. Noodles, you're going to play the role of the Vancouver Canucks.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure Noodles will love that. Set up beautifully for him. Pierre LeBrun coming up in about 20. Leafs Columbus tonight. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Pierre LeBrun still to come. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Al's brother with another clue. Right, on a Wednesday, we've got another clue from Al's brother. We'll get to that. But role play level of concern continuing. I was thinking about making you the Farmers Insurance. What do they call this? The Open or Invitational?
What
guys
an
are pulling the
embarrassment.
shoot like crazy at Torrey Pines.
And the reason they're doing it is because the Genesis, which is an elevated event, is going to be at Torrey Pines. I get it, there's chaos in L.A., but you can't find another golf course to play that event on other than the one they're playing right now.
Right. And I don't understand why you'd want to pull the shoot. Wouldn't you want to play it, get a feel for the course? They all know Torrey Pines. But I would think get there, positive vibes, feel good about yourself. Everyone's out. Morikawa pulled the shoot.
Well, dude, what do you think Farmers is saying to Monahan right now?
Exactly.
What kind of joke do we have going on here? You think this is funny?
Well, that would be my thought exactly. The PGA Tour is not in a good place. People are leaving it. The ratings are down. All the players are we got to do something about it. How about don't pull the shoot on a long-standing sponsor in a great
tournament? This
tournament.
is a day after Justin Thomas is begging everyone to do interviews and stuff. 10 guys pull out. It's great message.
It's awful. Will Zalatoris pulled the shoot today. Guys are pulling the shoot left, right, and center. It's crazy.
But apparently Doogie and those guys are saying there's a stomach bug around.
Yeah, I did see that report that there was and I think there was a replacement that ended up pulling the shoot. I think Ryan Moore maybe replaced Morikawa, and then an hour later said, actually, I'm not feeling well, I'm out. Which, I don't know. I find that hard to believe, man. This is a big tournament. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You're playing the role of Scottie Scheffler. Scottie Scheffler, what is your level of concern? This hand injury and surgery will throw off your whole 2025 season.
Pint on the patio. That's it. Ooh. Do you know that I dummy everyone every time I tee it up? I'm in tiger mode, and this little blip on the screen making spaghetti.
Ravioli.
Ravioli is just a blip on the screen. And by the way, here's a little nugget. I'm not even hurt. I just wanted a little break.
Ooh, interesting. A little sneaky commentary there from Scottie. Yeah, can we get him a chef? Why is Scottie Scheffler rolling ravioli and breaking glass and cutting up his hand? Because, he's not playing this week. It doesn't sound like he's going to be ready for Pebble Beach next week. He might, but I'm not sure.
That guy should be having ravioli flown in from Venice.
From Tuscany. Yeah, straight from the hills of Tuscany. All right, Noodles, as promised, you're playing the role of the Vancouver Canucks. What is your level of concern? Even if you move JT Miller, Elias Pettersson is not guaranteed to turn right back into a superstar.
Rick Bushwood, right now.
6 Busch Light, 6 Bud Light, and I love them, tall boys.
The question is, what are you getting in return? It's so good. It's so good. What are you getting in return for JT Miller? That's my concern, because do you have chemistry with that new player? We know what JT Miller is as a player. He's a hell of a player. Pettersson, if he gets his act together, he's a hell of a player. But the new player I'm concerned about. That's my biggest worry.
Well, Jamie, I wouldn't move him. I would just say, you guys think that you're going to take advantage of this just because you think we want to make a move? Not happening. So take your Zibanejets and other nonsense, and we're just not doing it. We'll keep them.
Yeah.
Why would you do?
Well, I'm sure what they're contemplating is, like, if our season is going to implode, what does it matter if you have JT Miller or Elias Pettersson? If you're not going to win with those guys, maybe you need something fresh to try to savor, whatever you've got there. I mean, I have to think that's what they're contemplating right now, because if JT Miller doesn't return to form, then it doesn't matter what he was a year ago or 2 years ago. If he's not playing well enough, then he's killing you. The same thing with Pettersson, but if Miller goes, man, Pettersson, the light's going to be shining bright on him. Like, you better be ready to play and play big quickly.
Soon as, like, every time since I've been doing this job, you look at a team and there's problems, this and that, not winning. It's guys not playing up to capabilities, and it's your highest paid players. You look at Demko, Pettersson, Miller, who are the three-headed monster that are supposed to be the superstars. They carry the load. You look at Marner, Matthews, Wall, Nylander, those guys carry the mail. And if your guys aren't carrying the mail, you're going to be in a position that the Vancouver Canucks are in.
Big time.
That's just in the salary, the way it's structured, you pay your best guys, and they got to make it work for you, or you're screwed.
Absolutely. All right, Pierre LeBrun coming up in the final hour. Our best bets still to come as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050, soon to be up on TSN 2.